Please welcome the next governor of the state of California, the Honorable Phil Angelides.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thanks, guys. Wow. Wow, that was great. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for being with me today. And first of all, to my good friend Jack O'Connell, thank you for your hard work on behalf of the children of this state. Today we see that test scores are up again. Jack O'Connell's commitment and hard work is paying off, and we're all very grateful for your public service. And it's a wonderful introduction. My father would be very proud, and my mother would believe every word of it. Thank you all for being here. Today, I'm here to talk about the promise of California. I'm here to talk about the commitments that are at the heart of the California dream. That if you work hard and play by the rules, you can build a better life for yourselves and for your children. That if we invest in our common future and widen the circle of opportunity to all our people, then all of us prosper. I'm running for governor because that dream is in jeopardy. I'm running for governor because hardworking middle-class families are working longer for less, caught in a never-ending obstacle course of stagnant salaries, soaring gas prices, higher tuition for their kids, and higher health care costs if they can afford health care at all. It's not that everyone's lagging behind. Tax rates for the wealthiest families and for big corporations have fallen. The size of the lobbying industry has literally doubled. And special interest influence in George Bush's Washington and in Arnold Schwarzenegger's Sacramento is at an all-time high. That's why we need a governor who will restore the promise of middle-class opportunity instead of selling it off to the highest special interest bidder. A governor who will put working families first and build our common future again. For me, these aren't academic issues. I'm the child of immigrants, like so many Californians. I'm a husband and father of 3 daughters, and please say hello this morning to my wonderful family. I'm someone who relied on student loans, financial aid, and work study to get through college after my father was laid off from his job. Someone who built a successful business from the ground up. I come from middle-class California, so I, like you, know firsthand California rose to greatness not because we gave more to those who have the most, but because we gave hard-working families more chances, not fewer. We made sure every young person who wanted to go to college had a chance, regardless of means. We gave tax breaks to those living paycheck to paycheck, not those who could put 10 lobbyists on their payroll. We believed the promise of California was the birthright of the many, not the privilege of the few. Now, I ask you to look across this state today, to look at what's happened under the short tenure of Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger. Deficits as far as the eye can see. Cuts in public education at a time of lagging student achievement. College and tuition and fees that are up as much as $5,000 at a time when we need more young people to go to college to compete in the global economy, not fewer. Then there are the things that didn't happen. A common sense minimum wage increase, vetoed twice. Health care for all children, vetoed. affordable health coverage for 1 million more working families at a time when health care costs are up nearly 50%, blocked and ultimately killed. Governor Schwarzenegger swept into office with euphoric pledges of reform. Instead, he has left us with a trail of broken promises and an agenda that is little more than a special interest shopping list. Friends, I still believe in my heart that California is the home of hope, the frontier of opportunity. We're the richest state in the wealthiest nation in human history, with an economy that dwarfs most nations. Now, we can keep traveling down the Bush-Schwarzenegger low road of trickle-down travesty, where we lavish more on the special interests, pile more debt on our children, and carve more out of education and health care, the staples of middle-class existence. Or we can choose the high road to prosperity and opportunity. We can rein in our runaway debt so we can invest in the future again. We can put our tax code back on the side of middle-class families and small businesses, giving more people a chance to climb the ladder of opportunity. We can invest in education knowing that it builds our common future like no special interest giveaway ever can. And we can invest in innovation and path-breaking discovery so California's economy once again leads the nation and the world. You and I know, despite what some pundits say, that this election will make a profound difference. It's a choice between far different values and far different visions of our future. When Governor Schwarzenegger was asked recently how he would address the mountain of debt he has created, he said, and I quote, "There really is no plan to end the deficit." Hey, at least he's consistent on his agenda for the future. He has no plan to reduce the middle-class tax burden, no plan to improve education, no plan to expand health care for families. Hey, maybe he ought to change his name to Governor Schwarzennothing. Of course, the governor's now making more election year promises, just like he did during the recall. But he broke every one of those promises, burdening our kids with debt when he pledged to stop it, turning young people from college and slashing classroom education when he promised to protect it, coddling special interests when he vowed to block them. He's broken more promises than he's had acting roles. We don't need rhetoric to know how he'll govern. We have his record of rewarding special interests time and time again. Is it any wonder to any of you that he's raked in more than $100 million in political contributions from the special interests? How can he possibly govern effectively when he is so deep inside their pockets? Now look, I'm no Hollywood action hero, but maybe it's time for a leader who will actually fulfill his promises and keep the word that he's given to the people of California. And maybe it's time for a governor who will restore the promise of this great state, not to six-figure lobbyists in Sacramento, but to the hard-working families who are the backbone of our state. Today, I am laying out my plan to renew the promise of California. It's a plan that I will put before the people of this state and the legislature in my first 100 days as governor, so that unlike today, Californians aren't left with excuses and empty rhetoric for the last 100 days. My plan begins where it has to begin, cleaning up the budget mess that Arnold Schwarzenegger is leaving behind. And boy, I'll have a tough job ahead of me, because he's left us with a $4.5 billion deficit next year, enough hot checks to melt Glacier Point. As governor, I'll do what President Clinton did when he took office. I'll balance the budget. I'll put an end to Schwarzenegger's borrowing spree. I'll cut wasteful spending, crack down on tax cheats, and get rid of needless corporate tax loopholes. And I want to be clear, I'll restore tax fairness to avoid more cuts to education and health care and more harm to poor and middle-class families. I'll make couples who earn more than $500,000 a year each year to pay the same tax rate that Governor Reagan and Governor Wilson asked them to pay for just 3 years so we can get back on our feet. Now, the governor will defend that loophole, but for someone earning $1 million a year, that's about $8 a day. Not much more than the price of a couple of lattes. So we can use that money to balance the budget and give a boost to hardworking families again. And unlike the current governor, I will never spend money that we don't have. Everything I propose as governor will be fully paid for, line by line, dime by dime, within a balanced state budget. And then, once we have put the state back in the black, we can get back to the real business of government, helping people again. And I'm going to start by doing something Arnold Schwarzenegger has failed to do as governor and can't possibly afford to do while he is lining the pockets of his special interest friends. I will cut taxes and provide help for the middle-class families who have been squeezed by the Bush-Schwarzenegger agenda. And let me tell you who I'm for. And let me talk to you about the families that I'm talking about. I'm talking about the families who have seen the cost of college loans raised by George Bush and the price of college tuition and fees jacked up by Arnold Schwarzenegger. The families who have paid dearly at the gas pump while George Bush and Arnold Schwarzenegger have cozied up to oil companies that are now making $350 million a day in profits. The families that are paying more for health care while George Bush and Arnold Schwarzenegger have coddled HMOs and drug companies and insurance companies. The families that have seen their tax burden go up while the corporations and the wealthiest have seen theirs go down. The special interests have gotten every break imaginable. As governor, I'll give a break to hardworking middle-class families for a change. That's what I'll do as your next governor. And I'm going to begin by cutting taxes for the people who really need it. Up to $660 a year in tax relief for families earning up to $100,000 a year. I will roll back the Schwarzenegger college tuition and fee hikes, a savings of up to $5,000 for families with students at our great state colleges and universities. I will increase property tax relief for low-income seniors who rent or own their homes, the same tax rates Governor Schwarzenegger tried to cut. I will fight for a minimum wage that is permanently linked to inflation so people who work full-time are not pushed back into poverty. And I will work to expand health coverage step by step, starting with all children in the state of California. And I'll fight to curb rising health care costs so they don't take a bigger bite out of your checkbook with each passing month. Let me be clear. My first priority will be to ease the burden on middle-class families and to invest more in their future. Now, Governor Schwarzenegger is already attacking me the way the Republicans always do, He's got a press conference at 11 o'clock today, and you'll hear more of it. He's using all his special interest campaign contributions to pretend he's not doing their bidding, while scaring people into thinking that I'm the one who'll hurt working families. Governor Schwarzenegger, shame on you. You know full well that you're defending the perks and privileges of powerful corporations and the wealthiest Californians who have gotten the biggest tax breaks in modern history, while I'm going to cut taxes for 4.5 million families and seniors. There's only one candidate in this race who will stand up for middle-class families and stand up to the special interests. And you better believe it's not Governor Schwarzenegger. Now, the second pillar of my plan is what Jack O'Connell talked about today, a world-class education. Now, more than ever, our economy runs on ideas, on our precious human capital. And yet, faced with a state that is 48th out of 50 in student achievement and 43rd in what we spend to educate each child, this governor cut K-12 education and broke his promise to protect our state's legal guarantee for education funding. He said it would be cut, I quote, over my dead body. If you elect me as your governor, this body will make sure that that body never gets a chance to cut our schools and colleges again. No matter what Arnold Schwarzenegger says today on the campaign trail as he tries to save his own job, he will put our schools on the chopping block next year because he has no plan to close his multi-billion-dollar deficit. I have a real plan. I'll make sure the funding for our schools and our kids is there. And then I'll forge new innovations and initiatives so we can reach even higher, raising student achievement and reducing the number of public school dropouts by 25,000 a year by the end of my governorship. Recruiting 40,000 new and well-trained teachers over the next 4 years to raise up the teaching profession, attract talented professionals to our schools, and to make sure every child has a qualified teacher in the classroom. Expanding the number of Californians earning bachelor's and associate degrees by 40,000 students a year to give us a fighting chance in the fast-moving global marketplace. We're living in a new economic era. The entire store of human knowledge now doubles every 5 years. Our children's children will be working in jobs and industries we can't even imagine today. We need more education, not less of it, and that's what I'll ensure as your governor. And third and finally, I'll make the smart investments that truly build the economy of the future. I see a California where we nourish economic opportunity by helping the small businessman in an inner-city neighborhood, by supporting scientific research, because the biggest breakthroughs come when we chase science to its own ends, and by putting this state in the vanguard of emerging industries such as alternative energy, an estimated $400 billion market worldwide. I will cut taxes for small businesses by up to $5,000 a year and expand microloans to create untold jobs and opportunity for the future. I will create a Clean California initiative to dramatically reduce gas and diesel use, making us the world leader in clean fuels and renewable energy. I will use the investment power of California's public pension funds, building on my success as treasurer, to invest in innovation and in our urban neighborhoods, making more out of taxpayers' money while we build the economy of the 21st century. And I will make smart investments in California's infrastructure to improve our economic competitiveness and our environment at the same time. In the coming weeks, I will be traveling to every corner of this great state, speaking in greater detail about my plan, our plan for economic opportunity and prosperity for California's middle class. And you know what? I expect you'll be hearing from my opponent too. You've already seen his special interest funded ads saying I'm going to take this state backward. Phil doing the moonwalk. Maybe he means I'm going to take us back to fiscal sanity. Or back to rising wages and opportunity for the middle class. Or back to a time when families could work 30 years and then retire with respect and security and dignity. Or back to a time when California had the best schools and the finest and most affordable public colleges and universities in the world. If that's his idea of going backward, then I'm all for it. And while we're doing that, Arnold Schwarzenegger can go back to making his action movies. But there's a more fundamental reason the other side resorts to these kind of well-funded assaults, these kind of false claims. A vast array of powerful interests have been feeding at the trough in Washington and Sacramento. What I'm proposing today in this campaign is a fundamental change in priorities, because we cannot afford 4 more years of Bush-Schwarzenegger economics. I'm running for governor. I'm running for governor to stop the gravy train. I'm running to put the state back on the side of hardworking people and to challenge the special interest status quo. And I will stake my election on it. It's getting harder to raise a strong family in California. It's time for a governor who understands that struggle, who's committed to addressing it. My grandparents came to this country from Greece at the turn of the last century. My grandmother worked as a seamstress, long hours into the night, so my dad could go to college. He didn't go to the University of California at Berkeley, one of the great universities in the world, to glorify himself. My parents didn't work hard all their lives, like their parents before them, to drive fancy cars or to see their names on a marquee. They wanted their kids to have even more chances than they'd had. That was their dream, that we'd do better than they had done, that they'd keep faith with the next generation. And they did. My father always told me when I was growing up that for every advantage I would be given, remember that there are people who work 15 hours a day just to survive. People who never get a break from anyone. He always told me, don't ever, ever forget them. If you elect me as your governor, I won't forget. I'll stand up for you each and every day. I'll give everything I have to make this state home to your hopes, your own California dream. We're going to win this race, and then we're going to go on to win something bigger for our children and our grandchildren. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you, and keep the faith. Thank you.